From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.
Taylor Heating and Plumbing. Call Taylor 500 help. Taylor has made service customized to fit all your needs. Air conditioning, heating and plumbing, home energy comprehensive maintenance, financing. Don't stress the important repairs or replacements. Call Taylor 500 help. There's also Precision Lawn and Garden, North Avenue in Webster. Kimberly and Justin, go over there and say hi. Buy a lawnmower, buy a snowblower. You're going to get something at some point. Since 1969, chainsaws, snowblowers, lawnmowers, Toro, Kawasaki, Club Cadet, Aaron's, Precision Lawn and Garden. They're over on North Main Street in the village of Webster. And Express Sealer, 645-2010. Call Brian on the east side. He does seals driveways in the summer, and he plows driveways in the winter. 645-2010. Give Brian and Express Sealers a call. Live from the We the People broadcast studios in hot, sunny, 91-degree Irondequoit, New York. What do you get when you cross a politician with a lawyer? You get Chelsea Clinton. Here he is, the substitute host for today is Marcus C. Williams.
I think all the driveways are melting today.
Oh, yeah. You got to watch out for your shoes and your paws out there today. Hey, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here, and I'm in for Kimberly today. So we've got me, and we've got the great producer, Austin, the man. Austin, say a couple words.
Hello, it's me, Austin, and here from Rock Fox, ROCVOX. Go to rocvox.com for all your voiceover podcasts and all that sort of stuff for all your needs. Fitz will set you up.
Rock Fox.
Yeah.
All right. So we're here today, and the question that's outstanding, is it on fire yet? And I think just about everything is on fire right now. So we've got a whole bunch of heat all across the nation right now and across the world. All of Europe is on fire. It's up in flames. Austin, do we have some pictures of all the fires in Europe?
Holy moly.
Nice.
So that this is from July 19th.
Is that what global warming looks like?
I've heard
Marcus?
I've heard this
heard of
thing
that?
called global warming. I like to think of it as climate change. Oh wait, no, I can't say climate change, right? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Did they change that
that's
term yet?
Is it climate change, global warming? I like climatic shift. That's my favorite one. That's the great one right there.
That's what she said.
Yeah, anything with the word climatic in, I think, is better.
Well, it's better than anticlimactic, right? So we up here in the Great Finger Lakes. We've got lakes. Anybody know how the lakes got here?
Glaciers.
Oh my goodness, glaciers! But I don't see any glaciers.
I thought somebody left a hose in the lake too long.
No, that's over at your house,
That's
Chad.
in my pool. That's in my pool.
Right.
Done that a couple times.
So what happened to the glaciers, Tom?
They receded.
No way. That can't be possible. It's global warming is happening right now, Tom. There's no way there could have ever been glaciers in New York State. What are you talking about?
It was an ice age.
10,000 years ago.
An ice age went wrong.
Wait, you mean it's not an ice age right now? It got hotter since the ice age and the glaciers receded?
I think we're at the end of it, right?
I think we've turned the other way around, and I think Hades is in charge.
There we go. I mean, with all of the heat going on in Europe so far, about 800 people have died.
800?
800, believe it or not. And we're talking about like the last week.
Was that after their second vaccine or after their booster?
And none of these were by guns?
None of these were by guns. I mean, we're up to what? 10 shootings from this weekend, Chad? How many are we at in Rochester right now as far as shootings go?
Well, I heard this morning on the radio that the city shot spotters, everyone knows what the shot spotters are in the city, correct?
Is that like the local bars, Chad, where there's people in there and they shot? Never mind.
No, I'm not.
Shot spotters?
No, the shot spotters are these audio detection devices that are up on what are they on the light poles and all that in the city of Rochester,
Mhm.
and they detect gunfire, and it's reported to a central database in the city, and it's supposed to give the 911 operators or the Rochester Police Department an opportunity to pick up gunfire that they otherwise might not pick up if they if they were on patrol and saw it with their own eyes. But I heard that there were 75 shots, different shots picked up on the shot spotter in the 24-hour period that ended this morning at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
75 shots.
75. So I was
Literally a war zone.
It is a war zone, though. It is a war zone. It's so sad. I was at an event about a month ago, and they had a lot of police chiefs from around the area. It was a anti-violence, anti-hate event. We're not going to talk about that today, but it was very interesting that our current and new chief, who was our previous, I guess, what would you say, acting chief?
We're talking about Jim
We're
Smith.
talking about Dave, right? Dave Smith.
Dave Smith. I
Dave
don't know
Smith.
his name.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Wait, so
Yeah.
he's appointed now as
Mr.
officially the
Smith.
chief?
He is officially the chief right now.
Really?
So they spent that $65,000 to a Californian firm to find us a new police chief.
Yeah.
And, maybe if they would have put that to his salary to begin with, we would have already had one.
So I didn't hear that. I didn't realize that. Now you remind me now that I know about a week or so ago, Malik Evans was supposed to make the official announcement, right? So that was the official announcement that the interim chief was appointed the permanent chief.
You can't make this stuff up for the radio.
Holy cow. So yeah, that's an excellent point. So they spent, not only did they waste the last 6 to 9 months.
Yep.
Yeah, they hired that firm. I remember when they did that. That's what all the big governments do with all of their extra money that they take from the taxpayers. And of course, being in the city of Rochester, there's probably many residents that that couldn't afford to have that money back, right?
Oh,
So
just burning our tax money,
Yeah.
right?
So they spend tens of thousands of dollars on hiring this outside firm to find a police chief, and then they hired within, which is what they probably should have done in the first place.
I could
right?
tell you what consultants do, Chad
Consultant
and
firms,
Marcus.
yeah.
What they did was they spent, it was like 6 months.
500 an hour.
So it was 5 months and 29 days. And they all went, man, are we going to do something with this contract from Rochester? And they looked at each other and said,
cash the check.
just cash the check. We'll just tell them it's a good idea to hire the same guy and nobody will ever know the difference.
I think that was a very good use of $65,000
Sure.
of advice. Oh my goodness, just the best use.
And how do we even know if that was that might have just been the down payment, right?
Probably.
Does anyone have any information specifically on, what that final bill was?
No. And that's if we ever actually see it come out.
Yeah.
So that would be a whole nother separate conversation, because the way that we spend taxpayer money right now is just with flagrant disregard. I mean, it's just, we burn it here for this, we burn it here for that. We've got,
It's on fire, Marcus.
is it on fire? It is on fire.
Marcus, help me out. Let me just ask one more question about that. If did when Malik made his announcement, or maybe
That's
otherwise,
Mayor Evans to you, Mr. Hummel.
when Malik made his announcement, so there it is.
There we go.
Did he offer any explanation to the public as to why they ultimately hired him? Was it because there was no good candidates? What was the reason?
Well,
Nobody wanted the job?
it's well, we could
Did they make any offers?
hypothesize, but the fact of the matter is that Chief Smith is probably the best man for the job. Not only is he well aware of the crazy political politics that's going on in our city right now, he's also served on the job and worked with the boots that are on the street every day. So
Yeah.
he's more than the right and qualified person for the job. He was already serving as the interim chief. So if they appointed him to do it as an interim, he must have something on the ball. But you look at it like this, right? If this is the best guy that we have for the job, why on earth would we even waste our time looking elsewhere when we know that Rochester is very, very intrinsically only Rochester, nothing else. It couldn't be anybody else. And whenever we bring anybody here, we brought the guy. Where'd he come from? Minneapolis. We bought the guy where were the riots? Was it Minneapolis?
Minneapolis, among other places.
Yeah, we've brought in so many people that are our assistant deputies and stuff like that. They last about 3 months and they're like, "This is a shit show. I'm out."
kind of like the Rochester City School District superintendent, revolving boss.
Kind of like the New York
revolving-
Jets, Marcus.
Well, is the school district on fire yet?
I think so.
Oh,
I think
boy.
the school.
I thought
actually, I
everything
don't
was
know.
on fire.
I think the school district. I think that fire burned out about a decade ago, didn't it? That inferno already peaked.
It's just
in-
ashes.
Yeah, it's ashes at this point. And another superintendent goes down today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dr. Leslie Meyer Smalls is out the door. I don't know the details.
So how many thousands are they going to spend looking
Oh,
for a
boy.
new one?
Yeah, they're going to hire the same consultant firm.
And then they're going to do nothing for 5 months and 29 days.
Yes.
And they're just going to pick who.
What I want to know is, and we'll never know the answer, because if it's what I think it is, then of course they're going to cover it up and lie and never tell us the truth. But if they knew all along that Jim Smith was their pick,
David.
then where did the money? Why? Right? I mean, you've asked this question several times already today. but
Chad, just go with Mr.
I'm just-
Smith just to be safe.
I'm just going to be
Or
naive.
Chief Smith.
He's got me second
Smith.
guessing it now.
I'm going Malik and Smith on this one. How do you like that? It's kind of like my fantasy football picks. I want Malik in the first round and I want Smith in the second round.
Okay.
All right. Can I stick with that for now?
Sure.
I think I'd prefer a police chief before we have a mayor, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
Sometimes you wonder if we have either, right?
So anyway, back to Chief Smith. So I was at an event and he spoke. He said if people really knew how much the shot spotter was activated in a week, they would not come into the city of Rochester at all. And I think that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes about all of the crime and all of the violence, which has been precipitated by our elected officials on the state level, the people in the state assembly, the people in the state senate who have passed laws like bail reform, or wait, as they continue to remind us, we didn't pass it. We just got here 2 years ago. It got passed before us, but you didn't amend it. You had this whole time. You see the issues with it. You didn't work on it. You also passed less is more when you got in there. So it's a lot of this, letting people out of jail with no oversight, with no resources if they wanted to be able to perform, that is causing this extra heat and perpetuating a culture of criminality on the streets of Rochester right now. They're not being held accountable. They're MIA. We see people overdosing every day, and you can't talk about the drugs. And if you say gangs, they'll run you out of town. You can't say that either.
You just said it.
Oh,
We won't run you out of this podcast, though.
okay.
This is this is not a gun-free zone, but this is a purely First Amendment zone. You're allowed to say what you need to say around here, around these parts.
You know, I heard that almost all of the mass shootings that we've had in New York, not New York State, but the whole nation for the last 20, 30 years have been perpetuated in gun-free zones.
In gun-free zones, of course.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But how? They're gun-free zones.
Yeah.
You can't have a gun there.
Well, I posited on Facebook today. I said, is it time to make, of course, tongue was firmly planted in both my cheeks. Is it time to make the city of Rochester a gun-free zone, right? I mean, let's take the logic of the left-wing progressive and apply it, right? Let's just apply it. It's their logic. It's their common sense gun regulations that they want for all of the law-abiding citizens. So let's apply that to the city of Rochester. Let's make Rochester, starting tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., gun-free zone.
Well, isn't New York,
Go in,
isn't New
confiscate
York
all the
City
guns.
pretty much a gun-free zone? Isn't their regulation so heavy that you couldn't get one if you wanted to?
Oh, well, Chicago too.
In
actually.
Chicago? I
Yeah.
mean, they're basically gun-free zones.
Well, except that, that's part of what was overturned by the Supreme Court, New York State, making itself you need a permit for constitutional carry. But yeah, cities like Washington, D.C., although that's not a city, of course, but you get the point. Chicago, New York City, all of those municipalities were at one point in time almost virtually gun-free zones. However, that was overturned by the Supreme Court several years ago in a Supreme Court decision where the Supreme Court, said, look, you obviously you can't do this.
Was that
You
Hummel
can't-
against the United States of America?
Close. It did start with an H. I think it was Halloran. I think or Heller. It was Heller. H-E-L-L.
was that on the bar exam, Chad?
I don't remember anything about the bar exam,
So,
but I haven't passed a bar since.
Somebody says, how will you take the guns away from the bad guys? Why would you take the guns away from the bad guys? If you take the guns away from the bad guys, who will commit the gun crimes that they keep getting money from the federal government for?
Excellent point. Glad you went there. Right? I mean, we do know that for years, the United States federal government was directly involved in dumping drugs into the streets. They're still doing it, right?
I put up a post that said just that the other day. Go on.
There you go.
We're going in the right direction now.
So we know what the federal government does. It's kind of like, running guns down to the Mexican drug cartels. It's kind of like fighting war by proxy. The United States government does that all the time, right?
Chad's been reading my Facebook posts.
Or maybe you've been reading his, Marcus.
we can put all the guns
I
out
think you're
there.
pretty much the same person.
My grandfather, and you probably learned this at a young age too, Marcus, because when you keep your eyes and your ears open, you kind of tend to learn things as a human being. But I'll never forget, my grandfather told me when I was, 12, 13, and I had no idea what the hell he was talking about, but I do now. He said, if the United States wants to end the drug problem in the United States, it can do it in 5 seconds.
Yep.
In 5 seconds. All they have to do is go to Mexico and close the border.
Yep.
But they don't want to. And then he went on. He said, they don't want to. And this is where he lost me, right? He's like, they don't want to because, you have judges and lawyers and doctors and counselors and police departments and politicians and you name it. It's literally like what? 2/5 probably of the gross domestic product right now, where that money's being exchanged hands on. So we're not going to eliminate the drugs. And now the guns are part of it. You can take all the drugs off the street, war on drugs, and what did that do? And now it's the war on guns. Take all the guns off the street. That's all we hear on the nightly news reports and the morning news reports is, and what really makes me mad is when I hear it from the police authorities, where the police, they've drank the Kool-Aid too, right?
Well, thankfully, the New York State Sheriff's Association has not. They've said that these laws are a bunch of skullduggery, and I'm putting it mildly.
Oh, that's good.
So they're like, this isn't going to take guns away from the criminals. It's only going to interfere with law-abiding citizens being able to protect themselves and defend their homes and businesses. And this is a real big issue. I mean, you look at the sticker thing, right? So now you have to put a sticker on your business. Tell me about those stickers, Chad.
Yeah, part of Kathy Hochul's new common sense gun regulations that she crammed through.
I like stickers.
You like stickers? That's good. You want a bumper sticker?
Yeah, I like stickers.
It says if you can read this, you're driving too close. That's your bumper sticker, right? So if you put a sticker on let me back up. According to Kathy Hochul, in order to exercise your civil liberties under the Second Amendment right now, as the Supreme Court of the United States just reaffirmed, in order to exercise those civil liberties, you have to put a sign on your business door that advises the potential concealed carry customer that they're allowed to come in with their concealed carry weapon. Otherwise, apparently they can't. And we talked about this last week on the podcast. My question now, though, is because, of course, we can play these things out. We can predict what's going to happen. And since just last week, we had an incident. I know you and Kimberly talked about it yesterday on the podcast, the incident in Indiana, right? There's a mass shooting, right? That's the word of the decade. There's a mass shooting at this mall in Indiana. And apparently a good guy with a gun, somebody that's legally armed, somebody that's constitutionally carrying, somebody that's carrying their gun under the Second Amendment of the United States. He's there on the screen. He's only 22 years old, right? How ironic is that? Because the last several mass shooters have been like 21, 22 years old. They've been young white males in that age group. And he's armed. And according to the accounts of the police officers and the witnesses, he tactically deploys his firearm in a way that takes the guy down, saves who knows how many lives, right? But if this was in New York State.
Well, wait, you forgot how fast it was.
Within seconds, right?
15 seconds. Within 15 seconds of assessing that there was a threat going on.
Did he have to put his ice cream cone down or
The Uvalde police still haven't showed up.
Right.
This guy did it in 15 seconds. We're still waiting for
he
the
had
Uvalde
he had
police
that
to show up.
cookie in his right hand.
So
the mall cookie.
If this was in New York State right now, you put Mall A next to Mall B. So let's pretend for a second that the Irondequoit. Oh wait, never mind.
The Irondequoit Mall.
Let's pretend for a second that the Grease Ridge Mall and Marketplace Mall are right next door to each other. Right?
Okay.
Are we envisioning this?
We're envisioning.
This is New York.
Well, it used to be Grease Ridge and Long Ridge back in the day.
Yeah, there you go. So we can use Grease. A lot of people might not know
Grease Ridge and Long Ridge.
I bet a lot of people do though. Actually, people our followers are going to start chiming in about Long Ridge and Grease Ridge. Remember that green carpet, Marcus? Are you too young for this?
I'm too young.
You don't remember Long Ridge and Grease Ridge? Grease Ridge Mall used to be two different malls. Were they connected though?
No, Wilmerite built the middle and connected them.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's we digress. But you have Mall A and Mall B right next to each other in Rochester, New York, right? So envision that. Now, under Kathy Hochul's new common sense gun regulations, Mall A says, well, we think this law stinks and we don't agree with it, but we want to comply and we want people to be able to conceal carry because we want people to be able to exercise their constitutional rights without fear of retribution from the government and so on and so forth. So they put up signs everywhere that say, you can come in and you can carry your firearm in our mall. Okay. Mall B next door, they don't put the signs up. All right. Same day, same time, shooter goes into both malls. In Mall A, because there's signs up that say you can come in, somebody decided, well, I'm going to carry my firearm into this mall today because the sign says I can. And they're there ready, prepared. They take down the shooter, save 50 teenagers who are there celebrating the summer months. They save 50 lives. In Mall B at the same time next door, the guy leaves his gun in the car because the sign's not up. And he's an off-duty police officer. And he doesn't want to risk his badge.
Wait, Chad.
Is this not common sense?
Well, but here's the deal.
Just follow the signs.
Well, but here's the deal. If you are an active shooter, by New York State regulations, you are obligated to let me go back to my car, get my firearm, and wait for me to return. That's you can't do it.
Common sense, right? That's common sense, isn't it?
Hey, Austin, can you throw up the Second Amendment on there for me?
Wow.
I think maybe we need
history lesson.
Maybe can you read that for us, Tom?
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed.
You know,
say it louder, Marcus.
Shall not be infringed.
Say it louder for those in the back of the room.
Can you hear me? Shall not be infringed. Now, you know what the worst thing about all of these...
Hold on. No, you didn't. Hold on.
It was revised in 1992. What's the revision?
Can't you read what it says after shall not be infringed?
Is that a period or
no?
Is that
there's a semicolon. There's a semicolon. Then it says, but only if the store puts a sign up that says that you can bring your gun in.
Well, first of all,
that's what it says. You didn't read that part.
The president of the United States of America. You know that guy? I mean, I heard he's the ruler of the free world. You know, I don't know.
He doesn't know.
But I heard him say to us, all of us, he said that the Constitution is not absolute. Now, this is a guy who swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. Right. So, I mean, I don't know what I've missed, but it has a period at the end. I did check for smudges and semicolons. But I don't know. Maybe if the president doesn't know, but we also have a lot of people that are in his administration that don't know what a woman is.
You know, that's a great point.
Well, Marcus, this is the revised 1992. Maybe there's a revised 2022 that we just don't know about.
Where they took the period out. You know, well, you raise an interesting issue, Marcus, when you say that the president of the United States says that the Constitution is not absolute. That, of course, is just one of those classic talking points that you hear from people all the time. It's kind of like there's also the saying that goes around about that the Constitution's a living, breathable document and so on and so forth. And that's just code for we're going to make it whatever the hell we want it to be in order to exercise our control and our agenda over you, the people, right? And technically he's right. And I would actually give 99.9% of the politicians in DC the benefit of the doubt that they know exactly what they're talking about, but they're just purposely evading the truth in order to push their agenda. Joe Biden doesn't know a goddamn thing, right? And excuse my French. I didn't actually mean to say that like that. Joe Biden doesn't know a thing. He really doesn't. The man is clueless.
But he's been a politician.
He cheated to get through college or law school, didn't he?
No, he came up in the top rank of his class.
Yeah.
He got, what did he say? He said, I got a special scholarship and I graduated top of my class. Survey says that is a lie.
Yeah. just like I did at SUNY Brockport.
So the Constitution he is technically correct, though. The Constitution is not absolute, but it's not absolute only to the extent that it can be amended through a constitutional amendment process that they could never in a million years get the Second Amendment changed under.
Except for the Bill of Rights.
Well, of course.
Except for the Bill of Rights. Do you know which
affirmative rights?
Do you know which part of the Constitution? How many of the bills are in the Bill of Rights? The first how many amendments?
10?
Oh, the first 10. No
ding,
way.
Ding, 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 ding.
No way. Oh my goodness. So as they start to burn the Constitution, is it on fire yet?
It is.
I smell it smoking for sure.
We have a constitutional crisis to the max when Kathy Hochul and Joe Biden and people of their ilk can constantly get in front of a camera and declare that they have the right to do what they're doing in the face of the Supreme Court of the United States. I mean, not only are they crossing the line of separation of powers blatantly.
No, there's no thing like that. We have to expand the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court has been naughty. Right? They said that something was not in the Constitution, which I look for. I look for it in the Constitution, and it wasn't there. But since the Supreme Court said that it wasn't in there, and it should go back to the states, just the way that the Constitution dictates that they do their job.
Yep.
They must be wrong for actually doing their job, and we must expand it to get people on there that will interpret it the way that the people in power, the elitists, the people that are in the top of the pyramid, decide us, the lowly people on the bottom, should receive it.
And there's the point, right?
Thank you, Reverend.
The top of the pyramid, that's the point, is that these people either don't know, or even worse, they do know and they're still doing the opposite. They literally either don't know or are doing the opposite as to how our system of governance was established and how the Bill of Rights were set up and how the Constitution is set up. And that is that these are affirmative rights that we have. They come from not politicians' mouths or from their ink, from their pens. It comes from our inalienable rights, our God-given inalienable rights. As Marcus just pointed out, the Bill of Rights cannot be taken away, cannot be modified, shall not be infringed. And they try to do it every single day. Mm-hmm. They sit there and they actually think, for example, in the news today is high-level government officials, including Chuck Schumer, running around screaming that, well, they're going to propose and pass legislation that makes the right for anyone to get married universal across the federal government, right?
Right.
You know the interesting irony of that is that's the exact same argument that they tried to make to overturn or to argue against what the Supreme Court was doing with the guns. In other words, Supreme Court is saying, and abortion, really. Actually, the abortion issue probably more importantly. And that is that they're saying that, well, the Supreme Court back in 1971 codified essentially the right to get an abortion and spread it out across the country. And what the Supreme Court ruled of late when it came to that topic was we never had that power in the first place. The federal government just doesn't have that power. There's a reason why the name of our nation is the United States of America, right? Because these are 50 individual separate states that only became the United States because they all signed on to this idea of states' rights.
I'd like to point out that
1791.
I'd like to point out that what Chad is talking about is that a state, if you look at Europe.
Wait a minute. Somebody knows what Chad is talking about?
if you look at what a state is a country. A state is a nation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bingo.
We are a group of diverse nations.
So you're saying we got a chance. We could take over Pennsylvania, Marcus?
No, we're the ones who don't have a chance. Pennsylvania needs to take us over.
Yeah. Can we annex? How would
Can Pennsylvania annex us?
I think they could. But I think the state would have to agree with it. And I don't think.
I think first we have to move down to like south of Mount Morris.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think if we move south of Mount Morris, we might have a chance at this. We might have a chance of getting taken over.
Listen, I'd support that. I still support the dividing up of New York State. I mean, it's the whole state. I mean, is it on fire?
It's on fire.
It really is.
This portion of being on fire is brought to you by Precision Lawn and Garden. call Kimberly and Justin over in Webster and go buy a lawnmower, and 500 help.
They sell water hoses, right? That they can put out
They
fires.
can put out fires with their garden hoses.
There
Nice.
you go.
500 help, Taylor Heating and Plumbing, and
Taylor sells air conditioning.
you could
They
put
can
fire out with that.
Put your heat out in your podcast studio.
There you go.
And then we won't mention Brian then, because he can't put out any fires. Well, maybe he can
No.
plow the snow over the fire.
There you go.
There you go.
Good
Express sealers. Austin, as a side note here, because we're getting way too serious. Do you
Yeah.
have that video? Chad and Marcus didn't see it. Do you have that video from the Family Feud from yesterday? Oh boy.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh, you deleted that?
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh.
Okay,
I've
never
got
mind.
one. Do you have the fake Ocasio-Cortez arrest?
Okay, there we go.
What?
Did you guys talk about the show?
Oh, you didn't
No,
see
we
that?
did not talk about that yesterday.
Oh, you got to pull it up.
Oh my goodness. Let me see if I've got it in my phone. I'll try to send that to you. See if you can see it though. Oh my goodness. So Ocasio-Cortez, if you guys don't know, they were out there protesting with Ilhan Omar in front of the Capitol building, blocking traffic.
About the abortion stuff,
about
right?
the abortion stuff, right? So she was out there, and then they tried to move them away, and she tried to act like, as the police were trying to get her to go away,
Mhm.
that they had handcuffed her,
Right.
and all of the
She put her hands behind her back.
yeah. Oh, and then she
Then
did
she raised her right hand
then
for
she-
the power symbol.
no to fight the power,
Right. to
but
fight
she
the power.
is the power,
Yeah, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
like it's insane. This is what we're dealing with right now. These are our elected officials, and I think it's here we go. We've got a video. Is that what we've got? Oh, did we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. hold on.
Fire away.
Watch this insanity right here. Where are her cuffs?
Yeah,
Where
she-
are they?
There,
Oh,
there they are.
She's like Houdini. She got out of them.
Well, she really did. This is insanity.
Look at that. What kind of walk is that? Is that her modified perp walk, or what is that?
It's
I
the
don't
walk
know
of
what
shame,
that is.
Chad.
It's insane. So these are our elected. Thank you for that, Austin.
Unreal.
So these are our elected officials right now that had
Hard at work.
swore an oath
Grandstanding.
to protect what, Tom? What they swear an oath to protect?
The Constitution, Marcus?
Oh my goodness! The
Ding, 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 ding,
Constitution.
ding.
Speaking of,
Man,
the
you've put Tom on the hot seat a couple times today. He's come through so far.
he really
I'm worried that you're going to turn and ask me a question.
he really has.
Just remember, I went to a third-tier law school, so don't get too complicated on me.
Hey, Austin, can you throw up the First Amendment up there, because I think we need to talk about this too. So the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or freedom of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government of redress of grievances. Hey, has anybody been seeing the First Amendment being set asunder right here in Rochester lately? I mean, I've seen a couple of things going on.
Well, are you referring to the Reawaken tour?
Oh no! Why would I possibly speak about the Reawaken America tour?
Because you're a deplorable, Marcus.
But I heard
You're part of the basket of deplorables.
I
damn
heard
it.
that was full of those ultra MAGA, the ultra make America great again people, the people who believe that America first is important, that they want to raise our nation so that everyone will be able to benefit and we'll be able to be more self-sufficient and rely on ourselves and actually have a government that works for the people, by the people, instead of the wealthy elites and businesses and magnates and corporations. I mean, hey, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard that those are bad people. That's what they've been telling me.
And how about, so here's a business, the Armory, and I don't know anything about the Armory. Is that a wholly owned private business,
Yeah.
or is that
It's a private business.
okay? So you have a private business that has invested its real estate dollars in owning real estate in the city of Rochester,
Expensive,
which of course comes with what, twice a year, a property tax bill, right?
Mhm.
So twice a year, the Armory takes its profit money that it earns off of hosting events and gives it to the city of Rochester so that the city of Rochester can waste it on hiring consultants for a police chief that it never planned on hiring in the first place, right? It can waste it on
Burning our tax.
the next superintendent that's going to be here for 3 years and then get a golden parachute buyout on the way out the door and all that stuff. So what do they do to this private business that's investing its dollars in the city of Rochester, right on Main Street, in the heart of downtown Rochester? What do? A bunch of local politicians, including Rachel Barnhart.
Ugh.
She's the
She's a
county legislator for that district.
No,
Not
her
for that
district.
district, but either way, right? She's been, as far as I can tell, one of the most vocal individuals on social media the past couple weeks to rid the city of Rochester of the scourge of private enterprise and free speech, right? Don't bring your political free speech to downtown Rochester unless it's pro-abortion, pro-Black Lives Matter, anti-gun, I should say. Unless it's one of those things, don't bring it down here. We don't want it. We don't want your dollars or your free speech.
Well, wait, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Tech Nine? Like not the gun, I mean the rapper.
You mean like Title IX?
No. So there's a rapper.
I'm familiar with I grew up in the 90s.
Mhm.
So I'm
First of
familiar
all,
with,
I'm having all kinds of anxiety here going
We're
back
talking
to
about
high
rap
school.
music? Oh.
No, because I'm asked to read and people are asking me questions. I feel like I'm
he's
like
nervous.
I'm going to hide. I don't
Marcus, he doesn't like the Socratic method.
Marcus, I don't put my hand up in school.
So back to 90s rap. Is that where we
Yeah.
were going with this?
Well, so
I'm familiar with NWA and Ice Cube
So
and Tupac.
Tech Nine is more of a hardcore rapper. So he came last year to the Armory. So I like him. I didn't know he came there until the day after the concert was over. So I would have went to go see him. Now, let me ask you a question.
What happened at that event?
Well, nothing. It was a good event.
Okay.
But my question is, would you go? You probably wouldn't buy a ticket to that event. would you?
No.
Would you go and protest that event because you don't like that rap music? That daggone rap music.
Absolutely not.
But why not?
Because that enterprise has its right to do what it wants to do.
Because what's right on the screen.
Yeah.
See,
But I want to take it a different angle, if you don't mind, real quick, Marcus. And that is that when we talk about somebody like Rachel Barnhart, and you kind of identified this with AOC a minute ago, she is the power. She is the government.
Exactly.
So Rachel, under no circumstance. All right, let me back up real quick. To re-answer your question, would I go down there and protest? No. But could I?
Yeah.
Yes, I could. I just wouldn't, because I just don't generally buy into protesting private businesses. It's just not my thing, right? But I could. What I don't like, and I don't think should happen, is somebody like Rachel Barnhart, somebody like AOC, they should not be at the forefront. They should not be the leaders of these protests.
None of them should have said anything. And here's the deal. Like, I firmly disagree with their alleged grievances against the event. But here's the deal. They are elected officials, right? This is an event.
Elected to represent everybody, right?
Elected to represent everybody. This is an event.
Good point.
People bought tickets to this event. Apparently, over 2,000 tickets were sold to this event.
Do you know how much the Armory holds? How many
I'm
capacity?
I'm not sure capacity wise,
I've
but I'm
never
sure
been
it was probably pretty close to max.
Have you ever been there, Marcus?
I have been there a couple of times. I even went there to go see a ska concert. Yes, I listen to ska.
What is that?
Okay, it's like
See, I knew eventually you'd ask me a question I didn't know the answer to.
it's hard to explain.
Should I
It's
advise
great.
you to plead the fifth at
You
this point?
should.
It's just good music.
It is good. Oh, Austin.
Awesome.
Look at that.
There we
Look
go.
at that.
Thank you.
The
Thank
key.
you.
That's why you have to have a good producer.
There we go. So, but the thing is this. They are our elected officials. This is a First Amendment issue. Okay. They should not be involving themselves with a First Amendment issue. If people want to
Correct.
protest, I understand that whether I agree with them or not. If people want to have their event, I understand that whether I agree with them or not.
You got it.
Okay. But as a politician, as an elected official and an elected representative, now somebody who is supposed to not only represent the citizens, but also represent our laws and our Constitution, you start to really cross a line when you tell people what events they can have and what they're not able to have, when it simply boils down to a transfer of conversational ideology.
Wise words,
Or
Marcus.
it's just you just that's a line that you don't cross, and that's the problem here. It's not like they were like, oh yes, we're going to bring in noxious, poisonous stuff and all types of stuff. We're going to bring in illegal animals from other countries or something like that. Like all they are is speaking whatever their truth is. I mean, people say stuff all the time. I mean, look at how we've burnt the dictionary to the ground. Well, I mean, I don't know. Is it on fire?
It's on fire.
The dictionary's on fire. We can burn books if you want.
Oh man,
Don't we have a what is one of those things called that you put a fire out with, Tom? That we had to
A
get
fire extinguisher.
Thank you. Ding, ding. See, the guy is on fire today. No pun
There we
intended.
go.
Even Tom's on fire today, Marcus.
There we go.
We're gonna have to put Tom out.
There we go.
He's like 12 for 12 today. And we've asked him some tough questions.
We really have. We
Yeah.
put him in the hot seat.
I mean, you've asked them about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. I asked them, what do you call that thing that you put a fire out with?
I'm blushing.
He's been knocking it out of the park so far.
All right, I'm going to challenge us here now.
Okay.
Well, hang on a second, Chad.
Uh-oh.
I just want to give
Am I in
Marcus. I just want to give Marcus a minute to announce, what he's been doing.
Oh, great idea.
And what he's running for, and that we're proud to have him here today. And we'd like to give you a present. So go ahead and just kind of let us know what you've been doing lately.
So you guys, I am actually so concerned with our community and the way that it's going right now. I've decided to run for state assembly. I've been actively out working hard so that I can earn the votes of everyone in my assembly district. I'm running for the 137th Assembly District for New York State. It covers all of the town of Gates and about 80% of the city of Rochester. On the west side, it covers everything from Lexington all the way down to Genesee Park. And on the east side, it covers everything all the way over to East High School, back up through Winton Culver, across Norton, and then back down St. Paul. So in my district, we have the largest amount of overdose deaths. We have the largest amount of violent crimes, not only in the city, but largely in the state and definitely in the county. And I'm just fed up with it. I'm fed up with our elected officials not standing up, not speaking up, and not serving our best interest. So I am out here working hard to let people know that they have an option, that they can vote different this year, that they can vote Roe B, and that they can vote Marcus C. Williams for 137th Assembly District, because I care about you and I want to be a voice for the people, because we need one. They're not listening to us, and they're definitely not speaking up for us. So that's what I've been doing, knocking on doors, letting people know, going to events, hosting stuff, so that I can work hard to let people know that they can vote this year with confidence and that they can vote for me, Marcus C. Williams.
Marcus, are you, what lines are you on?
So
You said Roe B.
Roe B, yeah. So this year I'm a conservative futurist, but there's no party for futurists. So I'm a registered Republican. I will be on the Republican line. I will also be on the conservative line because of my church values. That's where I get my traditional values from. I mean, all of those that are left now, I mean, those are pretty much.
Those are on fire.
They are
Those are burning.
They are burning.
So are you, did you have to primary somebody? Are you primarying somebody, or how is this going?
So there's currently a seated elected official there, one who champions less is more. So that's his big baby.
Who is it?
Damon Meeks. So he's running. It's David Gant's old seat. So if you guys are there are familiar with David Gant, he was there for more years than I was alive. He was in that office.
He does have a rec center named after him.
And he's the reason why we got that soccer stadium nobody wants.
Well, they can't all be winners in politics, right? So I'm just looking to move forward. And it's not even to say that my opponent is a bad person. It's just that the policies that he's been working on implementing and the policies that he's refused to change have adversely been impacting not only me and my community, but the whole city and the state. It's bad policy, and we need to get better people in there.
Well, Marcus, we at the We the People podcast studio and at Revere Realty, we've gotten to know you pretty well over the past, year, 18 months. And it's a pleasure always to have you here. The one thing, and I'm not I'm not really good at blowing smoke up people's asses, so forgive me for a minute because I actually mean this. And that is that you speak wisely, you speak with wisdom, and it sounds somewhat cliche-ish, but you have this freedom first mentality. And it's something I learned 19 years ago as a young lawyer that, you're going to get into a profession here. I got into a profession where every day there's 10 more, 20 more, 30 more laws and regulations that you have to possibly know. And you just can't. As an attorney practicing law in the state of New York, and probably in most states in the union, you just can't even begin to know what all of the rules, laws, and regulations are. So you have to fall back on principles, right? Richard Koya, the lawyer that I worked for, that's what he explained to me on day one. You have to fall back on principles, because if you fall back and you know what the principles are that are embedded in our Constitution, you can probably answer any question you need to answer. And if you can't answer it, or if the law doesn't support what you're coming up with, it's probably because the law is unconstitutional, right? It's not rooted in freedom. It's not rooted in the proper principles. So long-winded way of saying that, Tom and I, we've always appreciated your message. You're spot on. And, it's not $1 million, but we wanted to donate a couple bucks to your campaign. So we have a check here from Revere Realty, and we want to present that to you here today and donate that to your campaign.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you for being you, Marcus.
I really appreciate that. And I'm going to continue to fight hard for our Constitution, for our citizens, and for our state, because that's what we're going to have to do, you guys. And if you guys are out there listening right now, if you are concerned about what's going on in the state and you're a registered Republican, go join your local Republican committee. If you're a registered conservative, go join your local conservative committee. If you're a registered Democrat,
move to Canada.
Go.
Oh, sorry. Just
All
kidding.
Democrats are not bad, okay? There are still a couple of conservatives. There are still a couple of
registered
conservatives,
Republican, Chad.
and there are still a couple of moderates that are in the Democratic Party that feel really lost right now. And listen, as a Republican, we'll welcome you if you want to switch over. But I still suggest that you go out and you join your local committees, because that's how you're going to be able to have more of a voice.
That's where your voice gets heard locally, right?
Exactly. That's where your voice gets heard locally in your district.
Speaking of locally, you mentioned, and I didn't know this, so I'm glad you put that out there. So your district covers all of the town of Gates.
All of the town of Gates.
Wow.
And about 80% of the city. Yep.
So
it's still a heavily Democratic district.
It is? Gates is?
Well, no,
he's
because the whole
oh, his
district
entire
itself.
district, yes.
No, I live in Chili, Chad. I don't live in Gates.
You don't. Yeah, that's right. You do live in Chili, but you're close enough.
Do you want
your
me to
kids
drive?
went to Gates Chili School.
Do you want me to drive to Gates and commit voter fraud to vote for Marcus?
No, but you can maybe throw a lawn sign up. You're close enough. But that, I don't know. I mean, I've never run anyone's political campaign, and I'm not overly political when it comes to the ins and the outs of running a campaign and how to run a successful one. But it would seem to me, just as a general matter, that with a pretty significant grassroots type of campaign, you could definitely make some headway in the town of Gates.
Sure.
Unfortunately, and this is literally, just my 2 cents, that I could be completely way off base. I imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, that the city is still an uphill battle for you.
It is. And, if you guys would like to help pitch in with my campaign, I do need help knocking doors. I do need help making phone calls, setting up events, and any way that you can. And if you're not able to,
armed security.
And if you're not able to do that, we are accepting donations as well. I'd prefer your donations of your time, but your donations of cash and checks and credit, or even Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. That's not doing well right about now. What are you gonna do with that?
It's been doing great.
Bitcoin. Hold on. Bitcoin is on fire.
On fire.
Right.
It has been in the last couple
on
weeks.
Fire.
Wait, it climbed back up to 22.
Yeah. Well, it's gone up the last few days.
Well,
My Bitcoin's on fire.
Warren Buffett might be putting his finger on the scale there,
right? You
Bitcoin
think?
to zero. But anyway, you guys, no, seriously, if you want to donate time or you want to volunteer, check out my website, Marcus, 4Rochester.com. That's MARCUS, 4 Rochester.com. And you can say you want to volunteer in any way possible. I'd really appreciate your help and your support. Even if you're not in my district, you don't have to be in my district to donate or to support. You can even volunteer if you're outside of my district to come into my district and help make calls. Or if you're out where you are, you can help me make calls from where you are. We have to win these assembly seats because this is the base of the way that laws get implemented in our state. This is where all that funding comes from in our state. And the laws that are coming out of there right now are terrible. And the funding that's coming out of there right now never seems to get where we want it to go. So
Marcus, did you grow up in the city of Rochester?
I did. I've actually grown up in my district, solely in my district for all but 5 years of my life.
And how about, do you know where Damon Meeks grew up? Or his background?
Allegedly, in my district as well, but it's hard to know because you
was he born in Hawaii, Marcus, by chance?
That's a whole nother episode.
Or maybe the Philippines?
I want to see his birth certificate.
That's a whole nother episode. But the fact of the matter is that if you're from where I'm from, so you say, why aren't you standing up and making sure that these people that are out repeating offenses that are violent crimes are getting put in jail? Why aren't you making sure that they're being held? Why aren't you standing up and saying, hey, these violent offenders need to be off the streets? Why aren't you saying that we need to make sure that we have proper funding and proper manpower for the police? I mean, I know he's pushed many a times, F the police, and he's pushed to defund the police. But at some point, if you're from a neighborhood, if you're from a community, you have to say, hey, there's too much in my community going on. Something needs to be done. And if you're in office, because he's in office, you need to be standing up, speaking for me, speaking for the other people, speaking for all the people's families who have been affected, but nobody speaks for the families that have been affected. Nobody speaks about the victims. Nobody speaks about the children that have lost parents. Nobody speaks about the overdoses. And it's frustrating. So when you say that you're from somewhere and you're supposed to want to curry the support and stand up and represent people from there, I'd just appreciate it if you did it. Yeah. That's all I'm asking for.
Amen, Reverend.
And so is he still, I mean, I know you said that he claims to be from Rochester. Does he presumably still live in the district then? In that assembly district as we speak?
Apparently, allegedly. So he just moved his office onto West Main Street around the corner from right down the street from where my retail business is.
Really?
Yeah. So we're getting ready to scoop.
Shocker there.
What's his history and background? I mean, what is he?
So I don't remember. He used to work for the union or something.
Oh, shocker.
He used to do something. I don't even remember. All I know is that I've asked multiple times for assistance with the crime and the violence, and he refuses to do anything about it. And it's a policy issue for me, right? I hear he's a very nice fellow as far as personality wise goes. And I wouldn't take that away from anybody, you guys. I wouldn't. But my concern is that if you're in the job, if you're in the position, that you're actually giving me deliverables that are making my community safer.
Yeah.
And putting public safety and small business and micro businesses at the forefront, because nobody is doing that the way it needs to be done. And he definitely is not. And I just, and don't even get me started on education, but
yeah, right.
You guys, I'm not talking about him. I'm just strictly talking about his policies.
Yeah.
And the policies don't align with what our district or our state needs.
That's well, in a perfect world, you would knock on every door in that district in the city of Rochester and ask and have this conversation.
How I would ask every person I see is, how safe do you feel right now?
Not at all.
Well,
That's what I hear every day.
And how safe do you feel? Well,
to that end, I would say, do you know who Damon Meeks is?
Right? They probably have no idea.
Most of them don't know who he
is.
And if they do, if they vote, they just click D and move on.
And if they do, ask them what have his policies done. They're not going to know his policies, right? But they will know.
Problem.
But they will know what's going on in their own lives. Yeah. What has Damon Meeks done for you since he's been in power? Right? Mm-hmm. Since he's been in power, what has he done to improve your life? Has he lowered your taxes so that you have more money to spend? Has he made your community safer so that you feel safe leaving your kids at home so that they can play outdoors? Have you done any of these things? Have you done anything to get drugs off the street? Have you done anything?
Illegal weapons
for the community. Well, I don't believe in an illegal weapon. All weapons are legal.
And
in my opinion.
here's the deal. So he sponsored policies that have made it more difficult for Black people in my neighborhood, because my district, even though it has gates and we have other ethnic makeups in there, but it's heavily, heavily Black in my district. Okay. And on top of that, there is a large wealth disparity in my district. So he's made it with his policies
Within your district?
within my district.
Within you're saying there's wealthy people and poor people within your district?
Within my district.
Very good.
It's a very, very diverse district. But it is also, again, like I said, heavily populated by Blacks, like people like myself that work for a living every day. And he's inputted policies that have made it more difficult for us to apply for licenses for legal firearms to protect ourselves, even though our areas are, as I mentioned earlier, the highest hit by crime and violence. And at the same time, he's put in policy to defund the police.
Yep.
Now, that's not helping anybody that looks like me in my community or anybody that looks like anybody else in my community.
Marcus, if you've heard one or two of my podcasts in particular, Austin can vouch for this. I've done at least one, if not two, almost full episodes on the idea of that the war on guns across New York State is actually designed to harm inner city Black teenagers. And the example that I've used is, you got 16-year-old kid who's just trying to get to school in the morning, or a 17-year-old kid, or even an 18-year-old kid. They're just trying to get to school in the morning. There's violence all around them. They know about the 75 shots, right? They're walking down a street where 13 of them went off last night. And that kid has every damn right in the world to arm himself, to protect himself as he goes to school. But if he gets stopped, right? If he gets stopped by a good cop or a bad cop, I don't care. Good cop or bad cop finds a gun on him, and he's going Project Exile right the hell out of his community. He's going straight to prison. And for what? Because he was because he wanted to protect himself?
And a lot of people feel that way. So then you see a lot of people that are law-abiding citizens with firearms that are not so legal because, well, it's difficult for them to get one. You got to wait 18 months. And that's if people already don't have issues with their record. And we could do a whole episode on that. But I'd like to say this, and I think this is very important. When I was little, I always used to hear that if Black people started buying more firearms, that they changed the laws to make it more difficult to get guns. So guess what happened over the last couple of years? Black people started buying more firearms than ever legally. And then all of a sudden, now they're making it more difficult for you to own a firearm. You think about that.
Proves my hypothesis.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why guns, I know words do matter.
Yes, they do.
And what the government and their partners in the media have done for a decade on many topics, and most especially on the gun topic in the past decade, is they put the talking points out there. They put the talking points out there to the point where even, and I'm literally just using this as an example. I'm not even 100% sure this is true, but just to illustrate my point, even somebody like Sean Hannity or a Tucker Carlson, you will catch them saying things like gun violence, gun violence, gun violence, gun violence. There's no such thing. Nope. Take the words out of your vocabulary. If you believe in the Second Amendment and you have common sense, you will take the words gun violence out of your vocabulary.
It's because criminality.
Correct. It's human criminality. It's human behavior, whether it's nature or nurture. It's an evil person that is using a gun as a tool, just like they can use a shovel as a tool, just like they can use a pickaxe as a tool, just like they can use a 747 and fly it into a building as a tool. And they are using that gun as a tool of killing and violence and destruction. There's no such thing as gun violence. There's not automobile violence for all the car accidents. There's not plane violence after 9/11, right? So why is there gun violence? There's gun violence because what Marcus just explained to you. Marcus just presented the statistics that back one of the hypotheses that I've had, and that is that our government is always going to target who it wants to target, right? Mm-hmm. The war on drugs, the war on guns. And the rest of us are collateral damage in it, right? They could stop the drugs at the border. They could follow the drug transactions from the border all the way to Rochester, New York, but they don't. They let the drugs make their way to North Clinton. The guns make their way to North Clinton. And then they get on TV every night and they say, oh, we took all these drugs off the street and we confiscated cash. Oh, and we confiscated all these illegal guns. They're not illegal. They're
Mhm.
not illegal. They're guns. They're just an inanimate object. It's a gun.
The guns didn't walk themselves here.
No.
And
No,
it's-
so stop it, right? They can pull over these tractor trailers. They can find these drugs before they make their way to Joseph Avenue.
listen, I'm going to say this, and I said it before. The same people that brought cocaine
Mhm.
into the urban areas, into the black communities, are the same people that are bringing the guns there. We know who did it, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Exactly.
Okay, we know exactly who it is. And I shudder to even think about saying it on on the internet, but we all know that there have been various
Well, this is a secure line.
So-
right here. This is all secure here.
So, Marcus, are you saying
No.
you're using this microphone as a tool?
you know,
These are legal microphones, just so you know, because
It's-
we're talking.
It's
It's us.
crazy because
Some people use their pen as a tool, right?
we know that the government brought in cocaine into black and brown communities to subjugate the people, to break up families.
1000%.
They added that together with different policies from Lyndon B. Johnson to make people more dependent on the government and
Welfare.
CPS and CPS.
Family court.
Separate the families. Exactly. So this was all direct destruction against us. And then now we've got these guns that aren't even legal in New York State. And I use the term legal lightly because we talked about this a moment ago, but aren't even legal in New York State that they keep pulling people over with. So they're not.
How did they
coming-
get here, right?
But exactly. They got here the same way that the cocaine did.
Yep.
Okay. They were brought in by, and and nobody wants to talk about it because there's so much money in it, and the plan is so high
Billions.
level. The
Yeah.
plan is so high level, again, elitist, and people say things like, oh, things are a conspiracy. But I try to remind everybody, conspiracy is a illegal offense on both the state level and on the federal level. It is codified in law that conspiracy is illegal.
Mark,
People,
there's-
you have to wake up.
There's dozens of individuals sitting in federal prison right now on conspiracy to commit seditious
Oh no,
acts on January 6th, right?
can't talk
Conspiracy.
about that.
Conspiracy.
can't talk about
Yeah,
that.
we literally probably can't, can we, Tom? We'll get booted right off of YouTube if we go there. But no, you're 1000% correct. It's a federal crime to commit a conspiracy.
Yes.
But if we illustrate what our own eyes can see
Yep.
every single day in the real world,
Yep.
then oh, you have a tinfoil hat on, right? Where's our tinfoil hat? It's around here somewhere. Did we get rid of it?
It's in the other room.
It's in the tinfoil hat.
And the thing is of course, it's not everybody that's involved, but everybody.
No,
it's-
just like
it's-
Chuck Schumer.
It's the silent things that everybody knows that are going unsaid, and then we all have the questions why. But we know why. We know nobody's gonna speak up, and nobody's really gonna do anything about it. Which is why I firmly support constitutional carry. I believe that New York State and Monroe County should become a constitutional carry state because everybody has the right to arm themselves. An armed society is a polite society because most people, just in general, don't like to be shot. And if they know that you're carrying, they're less likely to shoot at you because you might shoot them back.
Words of wisdom from Marcus C. Williams. Most people just don't like to be shot.
Yeah. Well, it's true, right? It's human nature. If you're driving down the road
That's why it's called self-defense.
and somebody cuts
Yeah.
you off, right? And you're getting ready to go road rage on somebody, aren't you kind of like tapping the brakes a little bit, literally and figuratively, before you go road rage? Because you're like,
Not anymore.
that guy's driving a pickup truck and he's got a Confederate flag in the window. Therefore, he might have a loaded 12 gauge, right? And
Yeah.
so you're thinking twice, aren't you?
Well, you used to be able to have a gun rack in your car,
Right? And that would solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it?
Oh, wouldn't it?
Are you going to go road rage on somebody with a gun rack?
Probably not.
Yeah. Are you going to, commit a heinous crime of a carjacking or of a burglary? Are you going to break in somebody's front door if you perceive that you're getting ready to, stare down a double barrel, Remington?
I love the people with the signs.
Yeah, the hell with the dog. Beware of owner.
Yeah, when I go and I knock and they've got the signs that say fuck around and find out.
There you go.
or what's the other one? We don't call the police.
Right.
I'm like, oh, those are my people. I gotta knock there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been good. So yeah, I mean, throw your message out there again as far as where people can find
because
you,
we're pretty much out of time here.
Marcus, and
All
what
right,
what you're running for.
All right, you guys. So again, I'm running for state assembly in New York State, 137th State Assembly. That covers all of Gates and about 80% of the city of Rochester. So it covers everything on the west side of town from Lexington all the way down to Genesee Park. And on the east side, it covers everything all the way out to East High School, back up through Winton Culver, and then across Norton, and then back down St. Paul. I'm running because I believe that, well, honestly, everything's gone to shit. Really, let's be honest.
It's all on fire.
It's all on fire. It really is. It's all on fire. And we
It's
need a
on fire.
voice, somebody that's going to speak up, somebody that's going to stand up, and somebody that's not going to shut up. And that would be me. I will stand up and I will fight for you. Okay. I'll fight for you as much as I will fight for myself. I'll fight for all of you. And you can check me out, Marcus, the number 4, Rochester.com. That's MARCUS, the number 4, Rochester.com. Donate, volunteer, whatever. I'd love to have your help. I'd love to have your support. Even just shoot me a message. Say, hey, man, you doing a good job. I appreciate you. That's a little boost that helps me going and keeps me moving
All right.
forward. Check me out,
Marcus,
you guys.
this should be your campaign slogan.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
That's right.
All right,
All right.
Tom, how do we close it out?
We'll see you next Tuesday. And hopefully Kimberly, she's out with Chloe today and enjoying the day. So we'll see you on Tuesday, and God bless and be kind to others.
Go Marcus.
Be blessed and be well, you guys.